Cloud, and welcome to everybody who is now watching the recording. For any of you who don't know me, my name is Kira McCown, and I have been obsessed with scheduling and planning and creating schedules and creating and organizing plans as long as I can remember. Actually, my first memory, funny enough, of helping somebody with the creation of his organization, his name was Michael Harris, was when I was, I think, gosh, I was probably 16 or 17 years old. And he approached me in what my biology class, I think, and said, you know what, you seem really organized. Could you show me how you organize yourself? And I was like, oh, thank you. I am very organized. You're right. And I will show you. And so I remember sitting down with him after school one day and just going through with him how I do it. And it's been not only like a point of pride, for me my whole life, it really has allowed me in so many ways to do everything, almost everything that I want to do. There's a lot of things I want to do. I mean, I want to learn how to play ukulele and do, open mics, but I'm not doing that yet, unfortunately. But there are a lot of things that I've always wanted to do and wanted to be involved in, and I never really wanted a lack of organization to be a reason why I couldn't do something. If there was something within my purview that I could like really steer and control, then I was going to do that. Couldn't call that like type A, maybe colonialism a little bit, right? But whatever it is, it's also been something that I take great joy in sharing, because I really do believe that the more of us who have peace of mind just on a day-to-day basis, the better the world will function. And I am all about a really awesome functioning world. So that is one of the reasons I do these kinds of workshops. I actually started a scheduling ritual, which I call Time Bender, now, and I do it every single Friday through my company called Kimbra at 3:30 p.m. And basically what we do in Kimbra is we create space for entrepreneurs and creatives and freelancers to do all the things that we don't want to do as business owners, creatives, and freelancers. So on Monday nights, we update our budgets, we update our profit and losses, we get into communication with people who owe us money, with people who we owe money to, with subscriptions we need to cancel, with accomplishment sheets we need to fill out, all the crap that we never want to do, but we know that consistency around those things is actually going to help with the money conversation. Wednesday nights we hold space for folks who want to increase their leads or be more present inside of like either lead generation, social media, that kind of stuff. So again, these things that we know we need to be doing as business owners to create a more thriving business, a more present business, but we really don't want to do. And it's the stuff that's kind of easy to sweep under the rug too, especially if you're a solopreneur and there's nobody counting on you to get that stuff done, right? And those two ritual spaces are led by my two business partners, Monday one night, Wednesday night, and then I lead the Time Bender ritual, which is time management and organization on Friday afternoons. So if that is something that does interest you, Sarah Lynn, who's on our call with me today, but anybody else who's watching this video, either inside of the boot camp that we're in the midst of creating or otherwise, just go to thekimbra.com and you can sign up for a 21-day trial. You don't have to do all three to start feeling like you're, feeling more peaceful and thriving. You can pick one and do it whatever way works for you. So that's what Kimbra is, and that's sort of the That's the container that inside of which I'm doing this workshop, um, that basically helps people create their Google Calendar. So Sarah Lynn, who's live with me on the call, but then anybody who is joining via video, I invite you, if you haven't already, to get your Google Calendar ready, because this workshop is not just me showing you things. I'm actually, just like with our ritual spaces, I'm actually going to create space and time inside of this workshop for you to do the things that I'm showing you to do, so that you walk out of this video or out of this workshop, actually having a more robust, a more true to life representation of what your life looks like, and or maybe even what you want your life to be looking like. Because a lot of the tools that I want to show you today do speak to a little bit more like a creation conversation, rather than this is what's so conversation. I want to start to bridge that into creation. Okay, so I want to share our guiding principles of our company, and what we share with business owners, freelancers, and creatives, that even if you walked out of this and didn't do anything with our company again, which would be totally okay, grasping 1 to 5 of these guidelines would be a super big help in your own business endeavors, in your own creative endeavors. So those guidelines, those guiding principles for prosperity is what we call these, is that 1, you should create a money, communication, and time ritual for your business and your life, and make them something you look forward to. So basically, when we use the term ritual, we're not using it in a religious way. What we are basically speaking to is when we want to ritualize something, you do something in the same way at the same time, and it's a step-by-step process that you can really glom onto, that is extremely consistent. So that's what we mean by ritualizing. Most of us already have rituals in our lives, whether we call them rituals or not. You wake up in the morning and you kind of take somewhat of the same steps every morning, unless of course you wake up late. And same with the evening, maybe your lunchtime, maybe even your work day is extremely ritualized, right? And so we all already have natural rituals, but we in Kimbra say, actively create one around money management, around your lead generation, and around your time, for your businesses and for your life. Number 2 is be malleable with your structures. They will be changing. So our structures are always changing. So whatever you do create inside of your rituals, just be open to them changing, because at some point, it's just not going to work anymore. A great example is I am 2 months away from delivering a baby, and I have never had a baby before. And so I get the sense things are really going to change. And, that's probably a pretty good sense. And what my guess inside of that is that the way that I'm structuring my life is going to have to change. And as long as I'm open to that change actually is much easier, less painful. So be malleable. Your structures are going to change, and your life will always be changing too. 3, be committed to the outcomes, not attached to what the journey looks like. So, if you do have certain goals in your life, you want to really get clear on why those are a goal of yours, right? You want to find out, like, what outcome do I want and why am I committed to that outcome? if we get attached to the journey, like how long it's taking or who's involved, then we find a space of stuckness. And then stuckness is really, really exhausting. It kind of goes hand in hand with the being malleable thing. So again, you want to keep focus on your commitment to your outcomes, not be attached to what the journey looks like. Number 4, take what works for you and your life and throw away the rest. So I'm going to be showing you a bunch of things today, a bunch of things, bunch of ways to organize your calendar. Please don't be startled by my calendar. I don't want to show anybody my calendar to intimidate. I am an insanely busy person, and I don't mean to be. I actually need to change things. Like, I'm in a place of like, oh my God, I need to change things. So like, I'm teaching this workshop and I come to you saying I am not perfect, right? But the thing about what I'm going to be showing you is that, like, I have a lot of methods and I have a lot of ways of doing things. If there's something that you're just like, that just really doesn't work for me, don't try to be like fitting like circles into like, circle pegs into square holes. Like, that's also a big waste of energy, right? And Sarah Lynn and I both work in movement, and like a waste of energy is really not helpful. So so make sure that you are, you're clear on what works and what doesn't work. And if you think something could work for you but you're just not ready to implement, that's okay too, right? Like, you put it in your back pocket. I'm still going to be around, so if you need a reminder or you just need more support or guidance, you can always reach out to me. I'm super duper easy to find, super easy to get a hold of. And then number 5, time is finite, so bend it wisely. Money is infinite, whisper from abundance, and communication is magic. It makes the rain. So those are the 3 rituals we run, and those are the reasons we run them. Time is, in fact, finite. It is the only thing that we can like really run out of in life is time. Money, even though we feel it's finite most of the time, is actually abundant. There's blocks for many of us around money. And Kathy, our money whisperer, does get into those barriers and blocks in her ritual. And actually, it's one of her biggest focuses in our boot camp. So definitely, whisper from abundance, and then communication, which is just lead generation, is magical. And so coming from that will definitely behoove you. So those are our guiding principles in Kimbra. Take what works for you and throw away the rest. So moving on. I want to know, and I only have one person on this call, which is great, because we may be able to get into some more detailed stuff in that case. Because I have a lot of stuff written down as possibilities. So we'll get into some shit. But I want to know from you, Sarah Lynn, why did you decide to join this call, and what are you hoping to get out of it? And any other introductory thing you want to say for our audience is totally fine. And since there is only just one of you, tell us about what you do and where people can find you.
Okay, so my name is Sarah Lynn. My business is Maitri Movement and Massage, and you can find it at Maitri Movement, MAITRI, MaitriMovement.com. Like Kira, I teach movement, and then my body work really focuses on taking care of folks with autoimmune conditions, cancer, and pre and post surgery. I have a Google Calendar. It's associated with my personal email address. I don't think I use it particularly efficiently. I have toyed around with trying to create different Google Calendars for my work email address and have those integrate, as opposed to trying to create I don't know what they're called, but like different categories within one calendar. So like,
Mhm.
here's work and here's study and here's home. And um, I would like to gain, I guess first just a little more knowledge about the platform in general, because I've never done any sort of training. And then also, like I said, how to use it more effectively and efficiently. Is
Mhm.
that kind of what
Yeah.
you're looking for?
Yeah, no, 100%. That's super duper helpful. And it actually gave me something to work with that I didn't even think to work with, which is awesome because it's something that I had to do with my calendar personally. And I can't believe I didn't think of it. So I'm so glad you mentioned it. So that's perfect. And then did you now is your work calendar, because you said that you use you have a Google Calendar for attached to your personal email. Is your work calendar attached to any other kind of a calendar?
So right
Would it
now,
be
for my work email, not really. Um, the scheduling app that I use actually integrates directly with Google Calendar, which is awesome. So right now,
Mhm.
all my appointments just auto populate. But right now, again, that's all via my personal email address, and everything is all in one. It's all one color. It's all just a mess. It's a mess.
Okay. Okay. This is perfect. So your appointments auto populate to your personal. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, your personal and work calendar. I am going to invite. That's not the word I'm looking for. Encourage. I am going to encourage that work calendars and personal calendars be in the same space. Okay. Yep. And I'll show you how to do it and how pretty a calendar can be when you have different calendars for the different spaces in your life. And you know, what software do you use for your scheduling?
Acuity
Acuity.
through Squarespace.
Great. Culio. All right. So cool. Great. So awesome. And yeah, I think that you'll be really surprised actually at how very easy it is to shift calendars around and create stuff that you can put onto the calendar and put into the space and take away, so that your eyes and your brain can really like see your day, right? Cool. So for people watching the video, if Google Calendar is the software you want to use, it's just the software I have used for years and years and years and have gotten really good at using. And I also know that a lot of people use it because it is attached to YouTube, Google Docs, Gmail. And so if you don't already have a Google account, you'll want to create a Google account. Now, if you're watching this video and you don't have a Google Calendar, but you want one, go ahead and pause the video now and go and just sign up for a Google account. Once you do that, you'll be able to find the Google application or the Google Calendar application um, inside of these little dots up here, and you'll be able to find calendar. Okay, so that is where you will find your calendar and be able to start to play. And when I say play, I really do mean play. Like once you really start to get the ropes of your Google Calendar, it starts to be kind of fun. So there are a lot of reasons to have a Google account. And for some reason, Google is very hard for me to say. So you'll just have to watch me stutter through it this entire workshop. And then my best guess is that iCal and Outlook are probably somewhat similar in their functionality. I would doubt that if they're competitive in any way, which I believe in some ways they are, that they don't have the same kind of functionality. I am not versed in those. I know where to go to import information from those calendars onto your calendar. Outside of that, I'm not as versed in those areas, but I bet if you click around a little bit, it's probably somewhat intuitive. So let's go ahead and get this party started. I am going to share my screen. I want to make sure that I'm not forgetting anything. Number 2, yeah, okay, cool. Share my screen once again here, and you will see my wild looking calendar here. And again, don't let it intimidate you. I don't particularly care for how busy my calendar looks. I also want to share that part of my ritual is that I update my calendar in real time. So I have a plan for what I'm doing, and then as my day goes on, I actually update what I did. So this whole area right here, check and answer email, nap with Mark, who's my husband, eat and chill, do my promotional work. All of that was changed around today. That was not in the original plan. So what's nice about Google Calendar, as opposed to maybe something like a paper calendar, is that you can do stuff like that and not have a bunch of scribbles and pen marks and eraser marks. And I think that tracking is one of the most vital pieces of growing anything at all. So if you want more time, track your time, track what actually happens. And it is part of the time bender ritual that I teach. So having said that, when you look at my calendar, just understand that it's because I track what I actually do. And even if we're just eating and Facebooking and chilling like I did on Wednesday, and then napping with your husband and chatting with your client for a half hour longer than you really meant to, you're still doing something, right? Like, you're never just not doing anything. Even if you're staring at a wall, right? You're still staring at a wall, like, so I invite you to really get that you're always doing something. There's, and you're always in action around something. So, yeah. So that, I just want to preface your eyes on this calendar with that. All right. So where you want to start with your Google Calendar. And if for you, Sarah Lynn, I'm guessing you already know this, but I don't want to make any assumptions. You can exit full screen and go to your own calendar and just listen to me. Okay. So you want to go to this little wheel here, this settings menu. And in the settings menu, you can find just about anything that you need to set your calendar up. So when you come to the settings menu, you'll see the language, the country, the date formatting, so you can actually format your date however you like, and the time format. So if you want military time versus whatever you call the time that we have, you can change that there. And then there's time zones. You can display a secondary time zone if you want. That sounds like hell to me. I've never tried that. But you definitely want to set your correct time zone. And this is vital if you are someone who travels across time zones a lot, because Google Calendar can be a really big help in keeping your time zone straight. So set your time zone. And then I don't know what show world clock actually means. I was, before doing this work, teaching this workshop, this was not checked, and I checked it and I don't see a difference on my calendar anywhere. So, right. And that's okay. It's okay to not know. And then you can actually change your default duration. So when you set up an appointment, say most of your appointments are a half hour long. So, set up your default duration for 30 minutes. Most of my appointments are all over the place. Let's get honest. But my personal training appointments are an hour, actually 50 minutes, and what's really cool, and I don't use it, but I still think it's cool, is you can actually set up speedy meetings. So if your 30-minute meetings actually end 5 minutes early, or your hour meetings end 10 minutes early, you can set it up to display that. Now, my personal training meetings do that. I do 25-minute sessions and 50-minute sessions. But I don't set it up that way on my calendar. And there's a good reason why I don't. I like to pad my time. So I like to like pretend like I'm not gonna have that extra 10 minutes. And it's been very helpful to do that. But if you want to be, some people that come into my ritual want to be way more exact than me. I am not a perfectionist. I have been blessed with not being a perfectionist. And there are some folks who come into my rituals who really want to get it exact, right? And I'm okay with that. Again, take what works for you, throw away the rest. If my lack of perfectionism doesn't work for you and you really want to be down to the minute, do that. Okay. So default guest permissions, invite others, see guest list, automatically add invitations. We're going to get into inviting people to our events that we create. That way people get the event put onto their calendars, which is super duper helpful. And that actually happens also with those softwares, the scheduling softwares, that kind of happens automatically through those. So if you use a scheduling software, that does that for you. Then you can switch your viewing options. I like to show the full week, so I show weekends. I don't like to show declined events. Again, like, it's just like, I don't want more on my calendar that I have to look at. And some people want to know what has been declined. What if you change your mind? What if something gets erased or canceled and you're like, well, now I can make it to that event. I can see how it could be helpful. I just don't do it. Show week numbers. That might be interesting. Display shorter events, the same size as 30-minute events. I don't do that. I like the little 15-minute slivers, reduce the brightness of past events. I've been doing this for a while and I'm still on the fence about whether or not I like that. But again, like, whatever you like, whatever's pleasing to your eye. View calendars side by side in day view. Start the week on a Sunday. So all kinds of things you can do to set up your calendar the way that you want. Interesting. Okay. No alternate calendars. I'm not familiar with any of them, but if you wanted an alternate calendar, you could even do that, which is pretty awesome. So let's see, events from Gmail, automatically add events from Gmail to my calendar. So this is just so that you can use your email account to generate events, which I would highly recommend. Absolutely. And Sarah Lynn, I'll get into, what if people are, if people are wanting to schedule things with you on one calendar, how do you get it over, but not through Acuity, which is already automatically populating your calendar. Like, what do you do in that case? And then this is for if you're working with a team, enabling working hours. I don't know why I have it set up that way. I don't think I actually did that myself. And then enable shortcuts, locations. So if you're, if you want to create different locations, and only your administrator has permissions to set your main work location, which is also very interesting. So those are your settings, your general settings. And I would highly recommend making sure that you like the way your calendar looks. Because again, if it's something you're going to look at every single day, you should enjoy looking at it. So, however you like to set it up, get it set up. So we're going to start with some really, really basic stuff, because again, I'm not totally sure who is going to be on this call or on this watching this video and who is not. but I wanted to start with just the creation of an event, right? So how does one create an event on their calendar? Well, it's this easy. You click on the calendar wherever you want to create it, and up pops basically the outline for your event. You can add the title here. You can create it as an event, as an out of office, or as an appointment slot. You can set the date, the time. You can add guests, which this is where you would actually share calendar events. So you would do that through email. So then it populates their calendars. This is new. You can add a Google Meet video conferencing, which makes sense why that's new as of this year. You can add your location, add description or attachments. So that's really, really cool. If you have a meeting and you have attachments you want to share with the people in that meeting, you can add that to your calendar and then share them to that, and boom, it's all there, right? Like I just the amount of ease that this can create for people in their lives is mind-boggling. And then one of the things that I'm going to show everybody today that I think is the most important is just the variety of calendars that you can create. Okay, so just so you know, Chris, Tiara, and Online Comfy Classes are other people's calendars that I am shared to. Chris and Tiara are the two trainers that work inside of my company that I personally mentor. And then our Online Comfy Classes are our Online Comfy Classes. I don't know how else to describe that. But I actually, if you look, I actually keep them invisible over here. So it's on the left-hand side. I don't keep them visible on my calendar because there's really no reason for me to. But if I populated it all there, it'd be like, whoa, right? And I can go and look at what they're up to inside it. Like, so what if I want to schedule one of them for an assessment with somebody else? Because I'm like, oh, I don't have time to take this person. Let me see who might be able to take this time slot. I can just go and look at their calendars. Now, just, to let everybody know, we're about to get a new website, and all of that will be integrated inside of our website. It's just right now it's not. So this is the method we're using, which is I go and check their calendars to see if they're available. But it's also been helpful inside of sharing Zoom rooms with other people. So, we all teach classes. We all have training clients, training teams, and we only have a couple of Zoom accounts. So we want, we can go inside of each other's calendars and look at what Zoom accounts the other person is using at what time, so that we don't step on each other when there's a training appointment. So it's just really helpful to have other people's calendars. And I'm going to show you in today's session how to share, how to create your settings so you can share your calendar with other people. So let's go back to creating this thing. So this is all sort of the general information, and then you can actually go to more options. And then you get a more robust set of options when you click there. So if it's something that is repetitive, you can go here and hit does not repeat, daily, weekly, on Friday, monthly, blah, 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 blah. So that's awesome, because if you have appointments that happen over and over and over again, you want to get them populated on your calendar. There's no reason to not have that happening. And then adding the description, busy or free. I don't really use that much. But basically, how do you want to mark yourself when you create this event? So I don't really use free. I just use busy. Free just is the white space in my mind. And that may all change when I use certain software, scheduling softwares, and that sort of thing. So yeah, but just be aware of all of those options, right? And then you would want to hit save to actually populate the event. Okay, so that's how you create an event. And then you'll see if I go into the future that I do have all of my events on repeat because a lot of my stuff repeats. I right now my life is extremely busy, which you can see as I scroll through, and I have all these repeated events. It's mostly because I have a lot of clients. So so that's how that looks. Now I want Sarah Lynn for let me share with me a little bit. Do you feel like you have now you said your work calendar and your personal calendar are combined right now, or they're not combined right now?
They are combined right now.
Okay, great. So you would prefer that you basically are able to put them on two separate calendars, because right now they're just glommed into one calendar, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, yeah, the categories, the calendars on the left. That is what I want to know more about how to
Okay. So that's
create
what we're
them
going to get
organize
into
and change
next.
colors and
Cool. So if you're watching this by video, here's what I want you to do. And Sarah Lynn, if you're in this category, just verbalize it and I'm going to give space for it. I want you to look at your calendar, and I just showed you how to create events. I want you to create all of the events that are in existence for you that aren't on your calendar yet. So if there are events in your life, are there workouts you really like to do? Are there meetings that happen weekly, bi-weekly, like your Women Belong meeting, right? Is that on repeat in your calendar? Because you can actually create an on repeat event bi-weekly. Like you can custom first and third Thursdays at noon, right? So making sure first that all of the events you want on your calendar are there, that are in fact present. And then maybe actually I might take that back. I might switch that, and let's actually create the calendars first, and then create the events. Now that I'm saying it out loud, I think I'm going to switcheroonie-roo that. So here's what I will invite you to do. I would invite you to not touch where your work calendar is populating to. Okay. And then go into that calendar. What is it called right now for you? Just calendar?
my name.
It's your name. Great. So I would go into that calendar. So you'd go into this little hamburger thing menu here and go to settings and sharing. And I would rename it. So my teaching and training calendar just says Kira Teaching and Training. And I'm just kind of strategizing like what the easiest way to do this is. And the only reason I said to make your main calendar your work calendar is because it's populating from another software. So you don't have to change anything, right? It's just going to populate into this calendar. You're just changing the name of it. And then let's see, if there is anybody you need to share that calendar with, you can go ahead and do that by getting a shareable link or share with specific people. Either one, you can do it either way. I have done get shareable link for our Comfy Fitness online classes, right? So if you get our welcome email, which I believe you've gotten before, Sarah Lynn, it'll say like, you can subscribe to our calendar, right? This is where I get that shareable link to subscribe to the calendar. Yeah. So if you want to share a calendar with a general public, you can invite them through a shareable link to then sign up for your calendar, or you can share your calendar with specific people. Okay, so either or. So these are all my team members. And then for the Kimbra rituals, we send out a shareable link. For the Comfy online classes, we send out a shareable link. Anything that I want to share with the public. And then I put, we can put Zoom links in in those, and any information that you want to share with people that are looking at your public calendar. All of that is a possibility. So, yay. That is how you would do that. And show calendar info in other Google apps limited by access permissions. And if you do want to make things public, it will make all of your events visible to the world, including Google search. Are you sure? Now, we don't do that personally for Kimbra or for Comfy Online, because those are paid memberships, and that's all. So only those folks who get the link from us have access to it. Kind of like secret landing pages or YouTube, unlisted YouTube videos, right? If you have the link, you can have access to it. If you don't, sorry about your luck. And then event notification. So I have it notify me 10 minutes before my event. So, you're in the middle of like a project, and you know how you get sucked into a project sometimes, and you're like, oh man, I'm doing so well, I'm in flow. And then an appointment comes up, and then it goes by, and they're like, oh my God, it started 8 minutes ago, right? And, with the notifications, what's nice is you'll be notified on your computer, and I'm notified on my phone, because Google knows where you are, because Big Brother is watching, my friend. So you can add notifications as well. Yeah, I will never be able to hide. Not with the massive thing that is my calendar. And so all day event notifications. So notifications for that, new events, change events, canceled events. Let's see, an event is added to this calendar through email, I'm guessing. Okay, yeah. So I don't really do anything with this, so I can't really speak to that. And then calendar ID. So if you want to integrate your calendar, I think for using other calendars, embed code, use this code to embed the calendar on a web page. Yeah, actually, so you can actually embed your calendars onto a website as well from Google Calendar. So if you want to share your calendar on a web page, you can do that. And then this is what I was thinking of: public address in an iCal format. So if you wanted to transfer your calendar into an iCal calendar, you can do it from here. And vice versa, if you wanted to import or export an iCal or MS Outlook format into this calendar, you would do it here. Okay, so that's how the sharing of the two different software, or the three different softwares, can come together. Just JSYK. So back to this. So this is just setting up one specific calendar, and then you can remove the calendar right at the bottom if you just want to delete it. Okay. So now, Sarah Lynn, you've changed the name of your work calendar, and this is your work calendar. Now we're going to add a calendar. So right there is adding calendar. And I will share with you all of the calendars that I have, so that you can start to create in your mind what calendars you would actually want on your calendar, because there's such a variety of things we do in life, right? So I have Kira teaching and training. Birthdays I never look at. Those are I was gonna say, I don't even know whose birthdays those are, because Comfy Fitness birthdays are down here. Yeah, I have a lot of stuff on here that I don't really look at. I'm just subscribed to it. Then I have my Comfy Fitness calendar. I kind of want to change the name of this calendar to, like, because it's when I'm working on my business. So here's my description: calendar for events in which work is being done on the business. So this is when I'm having my meetings with my team, I'm mentoring my trainers, I'm writing copy for something, working on the website, having a consultation or a fitness assessment with somebody. This is when I am working on my business, on growing it. Okay. So that is purple. So you can just hit add calendar, and I'm guessing, I haven't done this in a hot minute. Let me go ahead and just do it. So, okay, cool. Yeah. So it gives you some options. You can subscribe to another calendar. You can create a new calendar, which is probably what you're looking for. And so, any of that personal stuff, Sarah Lynn, what you're going to find that you can do is create that calendar. Then we'll go back to your actual calendar. And then you can go into each event, and it has a drop down, and you can pick it to be in a different calendar. Right? Super duper easy. Super easy. Other calendars that I have on my calendar, my Kimbra calendar. So anything that I do with Kimbra. Right now, we don't do enough to where I feel like I'm like doing client facing, doing other stuff. I'm working on my business. I run the ritual, and I have my team meeting, and every now and again I have phone calls or a workshop like this that's random, but my Kimbra calendar. Oh, and I would highly recommend color coding them different colors, because you can do that. So where do you do that? I think you actually do that on the actual calendar, which we'll get back to, I guess. And then I have my fun time calendar. So fun time is like my leisure time, relaxation, my not working time. This is the calendar that like is often the calendar that gets the updates. Like if I'm updating my day, you'll see like the little green slivers in the middle of the day where I'm like, I'm going to work 14 straight hours. And then like, hour 5 of the day rolls around, and I'm like, okay, I'm actually going to go eat and Facebook and listen to my podcast and, hang out with my dog instead. And so I put all that under the fun time calendar, as well as just stuff that I'm planning with friends. So if I have a fun like phone call or Zoom call, which is what it is now, but event, I'll put it under fun time, or so call it whatever you like, leisure time. Personal, my personal calendar, probably making money somewhere else. So this I'm actually going to change. This is appointments. Again, things change all the time. Appointments with other people for my personal life. So I have my coaching call under this calendar. I have my doctor's appointments under this calendar. I have my therapy appointments, or used to, under this calendar. Haircuts under this calendar. This is the calendar that I use when I'm making appointments with other people for my personal life. Okay. So that's my personal calendar. Service. So I do a lot of volunteer work. And so I just call this my service calendar. So this is, if I'm volunteering or, assisting at Landmark, if I'm doing my news, my political news show, which is basically volunteer, if I'm doing any political or civic action or duty, that this is the calendar it goes under. So I was actually in a certification graduation right before coming here, because I'm in a trauma healing for frontline activists certification. And we had like our little graduation. And so I put that under this service calendar. So that's one of my calendars. This calendar, I think everybody should have on their calendar, especially business owners. I call it talking to myself. And I'm actually going to change the description. The description of talking to myself is just like personal obligations, appointments with myself. So this is where, if you have a to-do list, this might be where your to-do items go, right? If you have a to-do list that doesn't, especially if it doesn't include other people. So for me, I'm present on social media every single day, right? And I have that time marked under this calendar. If I don't show up for my social media stuff, nobody notices, nobody cares. right? And that's, except for me. And then I'm like, oh, I feel so guilty. I feel so not productive. I'm a bad person, right? And then that's what happens. But that's what this calendar is for. This calendar is for your obligations to yourself. Now I could probably put social media under working on business, but because I glom all those like little to-dos together, because I'll post on social media over here, and then I'll go and do this other to do, and and like I said, I'm not really much of a perfectionist. I'm not going to put every little like thing. I tried it for a little while. It was too much for me. So I just put like a little square, and I call it promote. I want to change the name of that. Again, you guys can hear in what I'm saying, like I'm constantly changing things. But I just call it promote. And that's when I'm, working on my rainmaker, which is one of our rituals in Kimbra. That's when I'm doing my communicating, right? That's when I'm, and all my networking stuff. So if I need, like Sarah Lynn, you were on that list at one point, right? When we first got into networking, I was like, oh, respond to Sarah Lynn's email, right? And then that was on. I also use a paper planner because I love paper planning, which is, a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs sometimes. And so these are all the communications I want to send out, or social media. So that was Monday, Tuesday, yesterday was only 2, today, and I just add to the list as the day goes on, so that I remember. And then when that time comes, boom, I knock them out. Okay. And it all goes under my talking to myself calendar. Okay. So I don't transfer that all over to my electronic calendar. I have it in my paper to-do list. I also really like pens and writing. So again, like take what works for you, throw away what doesn't. If you want to put all of your actions into your calendar, your to-do list, you can do that inside of your calendar. I used to do that. I used to put my to-do list in my calendar, and it was under my talking to myself calendar. It said to do, and then you would open up the event, and in the description box, it would have everything that I had on my to-do list that day. That's a way of doing it. I wasn't into it. I tried it for a little bit, and I was like, nah, I'm good, right? So go ahead and take some time to create your calendars. If you haven't already started doing it, and if you have any questions, Sarah Lynn, specifically about like, should I do this or should I do that? Just speak up. It will be helpful to anybody watching this video. If not, just give me a thumbs up when you're like, nope, I have all the calendars I want now. And then I actually wouldn't mind you if you don't mind sharing what calendars you created, because I would love to hear. Because I'm a nosy person.
I already have been doing a few as we've been
Cool.
talking. So I initially called the first primary one when it auto populates work, but then after I saw like how you were going to break them down a little more, I changed that one to appointments.
Perfect.
And then for now, I called my other work stuff behind the scenes business. I might change that one. And then I have one called home, one called personal, and I went ahead and threw in talking to myself.
Yeah.
I'll try it out and see if it's useful. That's it. That's what I've got so far. I imagine it'll probably take using it to figure out what other things I need.
100%. I only just recently created my service calendar. I was putting it under personal for a long time, and it just stopped making sense because it wasn't like for my personal stuff. It was for my service. And not only that, I wanted the optics of knowing where I was spending my time. So getting a haircut and volunteering somewhere, just they weren't the same thing, right? And so yeah, absolutely. The only thing that I, in my listening of that I might like suggest, and you can take it or leave it, is like leisure time or fun time. Now that might be home, but things you do for fun or leisure could also be a great addition. But I could also hear that going in home. Right. So then, because I don't actually, and I've learned much of this just from poking around, right? Like setting up my own calendar and all that. So even as I'm doing this, I'm like, so where do we do this? So once you get into, once you have your calendar set up, go back to your main calendar, and then whatever calendar you want to set as behind the scenes business, go ahead and click into one of those events. So mine is working on my business, right? So, it's just called Comfy Fitness. Go into edit that. And then right here is where you change the color. So go ahead and switch that event to that calendar, and then you can switch that calendar's color. Oh, I think actually, now that I remember, now that I'm thinking of this, I think you can actually do this here. Boom! I'm right. Okay. So you can switch that calendar's color here. I don't know why they don't do it in settings. Seems so silly. I was like, I know that it's easier than this. And then I remembered, oh, yeah, that's right. So go ahead and switch all your calendar colors so that it's not just one block of color you're looking at on a weekly basis here. And I'm sorry I'm eating during my workshop. Baby is hungry. We listen to baby. And then, when you're done switching and picking your colors, because this is a fun part, so take your time with it. Give me the thumbs up. And those of you watching the video, keep setting up your calendars or be picking your colors here. Cool. Awesome. And if you're watching the video, the beauty of watching the video is you can pause here if you still have more to do inside of creating new calendars, changing the color. And now what I invite you to do is go through your calendar and start to assign all of your events to their respective calendars. And then Sarah Lynn, just give me a thumbs up once you've gone through all of your events and completed that. And this might be the part where you find out what other calendars you need. I saw that facial expression. I was like, oh, she just discovered a new calendar. Look at that. New calendars are being birthed all over the place.
New calendar is called workshops.
Oh, perfect. See, there you go. Perfect.
Okay, I'm good.
Perfect. And for those of you watching the video, you know the drill. Feel free to go ahead and pause here. If you still need to do any of the items that we've been doing, which is creating new calendars, and then positioning what you have on your calendar to the correct calendar, which, as I'm, because this is my first workshop doing this tutorial, I was like, oh, okay, so I'm going to change the order of this. And then I'm like, wait a minute, we could create it in either direction, because that is the beauty of Google Calendar, is you get to change things like that, which is why I love it so very much. And it creates so much ease in your life when you can just drag and drop things, when you can invite people to your calendars. And again, I just want to reiterate, that you can in fact invite people. So this is one of the very few items that I have on my calendar where I've invited somebody, and that's my client Kira. Weirdly enough, she has the same name as me. And you can go into editing the calendar and add guests over here on the right side. So if you create an event that doesn't go through, like, say for you, Sarah Lynn, your Acuity software, because that already populates a shared calendar usually. But if you create your own event and you want to invite people, it's just on the right-hand side here. And it's a great way to share a Zoom link with people, or to share a document with people. And really anything else there is about the event that you want to share with them. And what's also awesome is that, say Kira wants to work it out at 8 a.m. instead of 8:30 on Thursday morning next week. If I change that, if I move it, I can edit the recurring event for this event only, right? Or you can do it for all following events or all events like that. So let's change it for this event. Do you want me to send this to your Google Calendar guest? Nah, don't send. And it'll change it. It'll still change it on her calendar. It just won't email her. I just didn't want to email her that we're changing her appointment to 8 a.m. tomorrow, because she'll get very confused. And so, but right now, if she were looking at her calendar in real time, she'd be like, what did Kira just do? Why did she just change our workout? She's not looking at her calendar. I know her well. So I will put her back this event, and no, don't send her an alert. So that's how you invite people to events that you create that don't get populated through your software. So that's inviting people to an event, sharing your calendar, which I did touch on already a little bit, but I just want to reiterate that you can share your calendar with anybody. So I'm going to go back to settings and sharing. So remember, this is what can get like when you're like, oh shit, how do I do that again? Like, just hover and there's the 3 dots. Just remember, just go to the 3 dots next to the calendars, go to settings and sharing. And then in the settings and sharing, for each calendar, you can specify with whom you want to share your calendar. So I can share with my husband this calendar, and my whole team my work calendar, and my sister, but I probably don't want to share all of those people to my fun time calendar, right? But I did anyway. So I didn't realize that I had, but actually it's not very updated either, because this is like, this is my best friend here. And so of course she's shared to it, but my husband is also shared to it. My business partner, my sister, so you can share these calendars with anybody, and then they'll get alerted. So-and-so would like to share their calendar with you. Do you accept? And then boom, it'll populate to their calendar, but here's what it'll look like. So, Chris and Tiara and, online Comfy Fitness, other calendars, there's my best friend's calendar. So she has shared it with me. You can hide them just by clicking on them and unclicking them. So that's what's really great, is like, I can look at Chris's calendar and see, okay, that's Chris's training calendar. Very pretty color she picked. And I like that it's different than all the colors that I picked. So that is, and then I can also look at Tiara's calendar. But what's also really cool about this is, okay, so again, my calendar is insanely busy. So just ignore that piece. But what happens sometimes is when I'm trying to schedule something with somebody, I'll be like, oh my God, there's too much going on this calendar, and I'll be like, let me get rid of my talking to myself calendar and actually get an idea of what I have available. Right. Cause, and it's nothing. and um, and at the very least, you can take out whole calendars to just have an understanding of how much time you're spending on something. you know so really for me, what's there when I look at this calendar is like, I have a lot of client facing time. So when I uncheck my clients in classes, I'm like, whoa, holy cow, now I have all the time in the world, and that tells me I need to raise my prices, right? So there's all kinds of things that you can do with this, or it's like sometimes, especially when you're an activist, you feel really guilty, you're not doing enough and blah blah blah, and then you can go to your calendar and you can look at your calendar and like be like, no, I'm doing plenty, because if I wasn't doing this, that's what my calendar would look like. And so I do think that there's a level of peace of mind that offers people, especially people who do want to be doing a lot, and somehow convince themselves, people like me, that they're not doing enough. Um, so yeah, that's the beauty of disappearing and reappearing your calendars. And I'm sure there are other beauties of doing that, but that is what I have personally found has been fun with being able to share calendars, have other people share calendars with you, and then also having a variety of different calendars. Not only is it prettier to look at, and it's not just this like block, a like single block, like everything is treated the same, right? But you can also look at the calendars individually, right? So you could actually erase everything else from the space and just look at one calendar. That would be another thing you could do. So, fun with cat. Man, my Mondays are crazy. Oh, at least I get them out of the way, right? So that is sharing calendar. Do you have any questions about any of that, Sarah Lynn? Yeah, buts, how abouts, what ifs?
No.
Awesome. And then, and then, like I said before, putting things on repeat. One of the things I do want to point out is, not only do you want to put appointments on repeat that already exist and that exist, like, for your classes or anything like that, clients and that sort of thing. I would recommend putting some appointments with yourself on repeat. So in my talking to myself calendar, you'll notice I have my morning ritual on repeat because I do the same thing every morning. I get up, I make up my client workouts for the day, and then, I feed the dog and the cat, and then make up my workouts, and I listen to my podcast, and then I do the dishes, and then I get ready for my day. And I just put that on repeat every morning. That way, it's like, because if I didn't have that, I would be starting my day at 7 a.m. No, that's not real. That's not reality. Now some people do put their sleep on their calendar. I don't have to remind myself to sleep. I'm not one of those folks. And those people are out there. So if you're a person who has a hard time getting to bed on time, I suggest putting go to bed on your calendar at the time you want to be going to bed every night, right? I need no reminder to go to bed. I'm like watching the clock at 9:30, like, oh my God, I can maybe start wrapping things up and going to bed. And my husband's always like, wow, you're really lame. And I'm like, hey, be quiet. I want to go to sleep. So the other thing that I recommend putting on your calendar on repeat, just so it takes up some space, and this has been really helpful for me, checking and answering email. We all check and answer our email every day. So what I did was I just put a block for check and answer email. And somebody asked me, like, well, what if you check and answer your email throughout the whole day? That's fine. But if I don't have a block, I'm not being thorough about it. And there's a certain level of thoroughness you want to bring to your email accounts. So yes, at least once a day, I sit down and am thoroughly checking and answering my email. And I block it out on my calendar like this. And then when I'm in the scheduling ritual, the time bender ritual at the end of the week, basically what I do is I just move. So it looks like, oh, this is this week. I just move them around to where they fit. So you'll notice next week, it's just at 7:30 every day. But it's like, but wait a minute, I'm training at these times. Well, yeah. And I'm going to do my ritual, my planning ritual, the time bender at 3:30 tomorrow. So tomorrow at 3:30, when I'm doing my time bender, I will go in and I will move the shit around where it belongs. Right. And and the reason I did it is because I realized that I was planning my day without putting that space in. And then my day would get way thrown off because I was like, I have to check and answer my email. And I'm not putting any space and time in for that. And then email, like stuff was falling through the cracks. I wasn't able to thoroughly go through and look at things and like, did I miss anything this week? You know, that kind of stuff. And so, and then I use the term promote. I think I'm going to change this to just communicate, because really what it is it's my rainmaker ritual. And in Rainmaker, you know, we create our leads lists basically, and then we get into communication. And so that's the time that I allot, and I do it Monday through Friday at least. Wednesdays kind of falls off sometimes, but if I'm going to be real honest. But I take up space for it because I do know that I want to get into communication with people. People that I need to follow up with, people that have said yes to something I've offered them, but then like ghosted me, right? It happens to all of us, right? And so, so that I'm actually taking time out to look at my lists of people, or sometimes it's just like sitting there and being like, who else do I need to reach out to? What other promises did I make? What other promises did other people make me that I need to check in on? Especially if you manage people, that's a big one, and so inside of the promote, let's go ahead and do this. So that's my communication. Okay. So that's how you would change your title, right? Does that actually change anything? Maybe. Maybe it does. Yeah, I think language is really important. And so, let's see what that creates newly for me in my day to day by changing promote to communicate or communication. But yeah, I also think that that's a really good use of the talking to myself calendar. Now, I put my workout calendar under my fun time because I love working out and I love taking classes. And so that is one of my, you could also put that under talking to myself, your workout calendar, or you could put it under your fun time calendar. It's kind of up to up to you. But yeah, all of your personal stuff, food prep, anything like that. And so there's going to be, I encourage you to find the things on repeat for your talking to yourself calendar, because they're there. I promise you, you have rituals in your life that you're already doing, and that are important to bring awareness to, so that you're not double booking yourself or overbooking yourself. Said the woman who is massively overbooked right now. You're welcome. So yeah, I think that was basically putting events on repeat, repetitive things for yourself. I think that was everything that I wanted to share. And we have 9 minutes left for any questions or anything else. Sarah Lynn, do you have any questions about how I do stuff? What if, how abouts, yeah, buts. Those are good ones.
Just one question, and I don't know if you can answer this. It may be something I have to dig a little more deeply, but there were a couple of names that I tried to choose and I got an error message. Home was one.
Okay.
Sleep was another one.
You
And
got an
it's
error message for wanting to call your calendar that?
okay, I do go to create new calendar. And if I put in home or sleep, it says, sorry, you don't have permission to edit the calendar sleep.
I wonder if
The same thing for home.
huh. That is so strange. I've never seen that
Okay,
before.
I'll do some digging. But no, I didn't have any other questions. I just need to put some time on my calendar to do my calendar.
Right, exactly. Well, and that's what's hilarious about, like, so when people are new to the time bender ritual, that's one of the first things they start to realize is like, oh, I need to schedule the creation of my calendar now. And I'm like, yeah, you do. Yeah. Because the other piece of it is like you really got to start living your calendar too to know how it's going to be set up as well. So as you're living your calendar, you'll start to realize like, oh, I think I need a new calendar, or oh, this calendar, I want to change the name of it because I want to include other parts. But yeah, start to live the calendar and definitely build it out, because it'll be super helpful. And then I can't emphasize it enough: track, track, track. Track what actually happens in your life. You will be floored by how awesome you are and how many things you do in a day. You will be. You just will be. And then that way you can circumvent this like limbic, like lizard mammalian brain, and come up here and recognize what reality is. Because this over here is going to tell us how lazy and bad and wrong we are unless we have proof for ourselves that we have created for ourselves saying otherwise. And that's actually another thing with the time bender ritual. We always start the ritual with our successes and wins for the week, because too often we do not give ourselves credit, and what we focus on grows in life. And so you want to focus on, just how active of a member you are in your own life. So be sure you're tracking. I think it's probably the most important part of ritualizing your time management. Coolio. Well, I think that's it then.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Thanks for joining, because you definitely like brought to my attention like something that I wanted to make sure got in, and it did. And so I appreciate you, and I appreciate you coming and asking your questions and building your calendar with me. And of course, and anybody watching this knows, you can reach out to me anytime, if you have any questions, or you run into anything that I may know about. Oh, and I forgot to preface this whole thing by saying I do not work for Google. I just use their software and enjoy it. However, if you are interested in the rituals and the ritual spaces, you can sign up for a 21-day free trial at thekimbra, TheKimbra.com. And that is all.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kara. Have a good night.
You got it. You do the same, Sarah Lynn, and I will see you around.